We once again set out here in Away the Hunter on Nez Perce Valley with a very particular goal in mind. Because the new crossbow is coming with the Aurora Shores map in just a couple of weeks, I want to make sure that we have the 3rd tier calls unlocked so that we can be as effective as possible with that crossbow. So we are currently just 2 kills away from getting to that point, but I also thought it probably would not be a bad idea to just get used to calling animals in and making those shots a little more consistently, and maybe looking for a way to more consistently get broadside shots. Who knows how that crossbow is going to work, but I would like to think it would be a good idea to not always be going for the frontal angle. And probably to no one's surprise, we begin with a herd of elk. I wanted to kind of follow where we left off last time here on Nez Perce and keep moving to these question marks that we haven't discovered. And right by this one, we do have a herd up there, so we'll start with the high fitness call. If we can get some to come in that way, that would be great. If they don't want to come into that, we'll go with the low fitness one. And thanks to you guys in the comments, I now know that the line for what animals come into high fitness or low fitness calls is 50%, so there's not a lot of determinations you can make based on that. But we've got a couple of matures. This 1-star mature is definitely one we want to take out. There's a 2-star mature further back in there, but I think we can go ahead and go for this guy. Now, I talked about trying to get things in like a good position for a crossbow shot. As we try to get these couple of kills to unlock 3rd tier calls, we won't worry as much about that. So let's go ahead. Try to drop this shot into the heart. We have the 350 today, by the way. Wanted to crack that out because I think it would be fun to use on the Aurora Shores map. We also have for our medium game weapon the 30-06, just to kind of switch things up. I do have to say, I have never seen a blood trail like this. It's every, like, 1.5 feet. Another spot of blood, but it went that way for 150 yards or so. So if this is a hard shot, we might not pick up the 350 again. It was artery and right lung. Though, I would say, did the bullet stop before it got there? Because I'd say we're online to hit it. And I guess that is the case. It lodged right at the heart, basically. So maybe it was the angle. It doesn't look different than normally what we do for frontal heart shots, but we'll give it another try. 30% 1-star mature, good to take out. And then the real question is, did that count for our achievement? It did. So 1 more called animal and we'll have 3rd tier calls unlocked. And I think there were a couple of herds of deer down here, so maybe we can accomplish it with one of them. Actually, I'm kind of thinking maybe we spooked the deer the same time we spooked the elk, because I haven't heard any calls again, and I don't see them, but either way, we'll just kind of move to the next question mark, and I'm sure at some stage we'll stumble into something. So naturally, I say that, and then we just cannot find anything to actually call in. So I decided to jump down to the southeast lake for mule deer, just to try to call one in, because it is the deer species, and I'm sure there's other calls too. But if we look at the grunt call, we've got the doe grunt, which attracts does, and the young buck grunt, which attracts the low fitness males. It is that 3rd tier of call that can bring in the high fitness bucks. So hopefully something down here will come in. This is maybe not the best place to go because it's got a bunch of high fitness deer, but I mean, maybe there's one that'll come in. In the meantime, that must be a future 5-star. He is darn near brown and a 4-star mature, so that's encouraging. I mean, could we shoot a doe? For the sake of it, we may. I still want to use the doe grunt just to make sure it's actually attracted if we're going to do this. And now with a little confidence, I think we'll go ahead and go for this. It, by the way, is not typically a good idea to shoot does. I believe it reduces the overall number of animals in the area or in that herd or something, but it also will kind of free us up for the rest of the hunt. That'll be animal number 30, and we no longer have to call anything, and we could instead go for like a 2-star mature that was down there, but obviously not coming into the call. So this, at least hopefully, will be the last time we randomly shoot a doe. Young, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter. A mature doe would have weighed more and given us more credits, but we are back up near 20k again, and that does unlock the 3rd tier calls. Now, if I remember right, yeah, I think we have to either start a fresh session, or maybe just fast travel to actually be able to use them. And fast traveling did work, so now we have the trophy buck grunt, which attracts the high fitness males, and I actually don't know what it sounds like. Little higher pitch than I would have thought, but regardless, now we have that out of the way and we'll be good to call in anything that we can call when the crossbows are released. So from here on out, we won't be calling in literally everything we see. I'm sure at some stage there's going to be something that we just want to take in the distance, but I do want to kind of practice maybe calling from an area and getting a little bit to the side, or just trying to find ways to set up broadside angles for things we're calling in when that crossbow is something that we're carrying in our loadouts. And naturally, we run straight into another potential feature 5-star, a 4-star mature elk, which doesn't look incredibly gray, definitely on the grayer side, but I think he's got some time left. As for what else is in the herd, the one behind this guy is a mature, that one right there, a 1-star mature. Let's practice that. Surely that will come in to a low fitness call, and maybe we can learn a little something. So if we get the correct color, I don't think it's going to come into a deer or predator call. Let's see what we can do. I will say I really don't know what to do. I think in theory, like, he's alerted at that range, you could maybe just kind of sit and wait for them to turn away, but that's a very specifically timed shot. He's still coming in, but I mean, I don't know, should we let him come a little bit closer? He sees us now. I definitely think that's what's going on, so let's get him. No point letting him get away. I sure hope that one's a hard shot, because if it's anything like the last one, it's gonna be a lengthy track. Kind of promising that he hasn't taken off, but I actually don't know what he's doing. Again though, much like earlier, we get this crazy blood trail, but it's a pretty lengthy track. I marked him about 130 yards away, so he ran close to 200 yards. And I think it was only that much less than the first track because he stood around so long. And like, to me, that certainly appears as though it would have been a hard shot with the 300. And I like the 350 as much as I'd like to keep using it. I just don't really see a good enough reason to. This is one of the most common shots we go for, and it just can't quite reach the heart. So I guess maybe from here we'll go back to the 300. 16% mature though. No surprise he came into one for low fitness males. And I guess we'll at least get these couple of question marks before we give up on the 350, but I just can't really see a good enough reason to choose it over the 300. I just thought of something that a lot of you guys probably have been thinking from the start of the video. It's entirely possible, because Aurora Shores is going to have a new playable character, that anything we do here isn't going to impact that map at all. Now, that's not to say that unlocking 3rd tier calls is something we shouldn't have bothered with, because it'll still help here, but I'm not actually sure it does anything for the new map. In the meantime, that looks like a really promising 4-star mature bighorn. We've killed a 5-star from this herd before, and there's a 1-star that we can go ahead and take out to try to help with the genetics. So, still got the 30-06. We did swap to the 300 though. Man, I don't know what's going on with the scope. I never noticed that with the 270. May have just been the grass being right there close, but I forgot how good the sound of that 30-06 was. I love the 270. Maybe we need to look at the 30-06 a little bit more, just to take that another step too. At the time that we tested all the new weapons, I think it was in hunting season or something, so we didn't really get to compare everything and choose the best. I just ended up liking the 270 a lot, so maybe the 30-06 is going to be our next kind of main addition to our loadout. But for now, double lung shot, and I mean, compare that to what we've been doing with the elk. Definitely a little more effective on the medium game than the 350 was on the really big game, but 27%. It's got to be such a massive difference between the lowest fitness and highest in that herd, because I really think that 4-star is going to be quite big. But nice to get another bighorn. I wanted to spend some time in the mountains here today too, because we don't shoot enough bighorn or mountain goats. Speaking of, way up there, 700 yards away, there are some. It's going to be tough to get into position on them, but we'll place a marker and, man, try to find a way up. Maybe getting up above them on this side. This whole thing, by the way, is why I just love mountain hunting in this game, because so many of the same principles apply that you would use in real life, considering the direction of travel, trying to find a vantage point to get a shot from and not just following them. And obviously, in this case, we get to kind of take a look at the exact opposite of what we were doing in the beginning of the hunt and calling things in. We're trying to find a spot where we can see them from a distance and not get so close that we would spook them. And I marked this spot from 700 yards away, and it ends up taking us exactly to where we need to go. Now, they are alert, so we better pick one and go for it. There was a zone I thought. May need to sit here a minute and wait for that opportunity to arise. That's actually it there, though. So it steps out from behind that conifer. We can probably go for it. That's going to be our shot, like one more step out of there. We want him clear of all the branches, but I do think he'll kind of speed himself along. Man, that gun sounds good. We've been missing out by not using this thing, but this is the one type of hunting in this game that I feel like almost perfectly parallels hunting in real life. And the one thing is the markers. Like, obviously you can't just mark something in real life, but I think the other side of it is, in real life too, there's endless possibilities for what rocks look like, what trees look like. You may have one that's broken off a certain way, or a rock that looks very obvious from a distance, whereas in a game you're only going to have so many models for those things. So I think the markers kind of bridge that gap and allow you to have that type of thing, where you may pick a particular tree or rock in real life that looks different than the others. Here you have a marker to actually go to, but I just love it. And I am hoping, by the way, we can stumble into mule deer and elk and call them in up here, but always nice when something like that works out. Spotted them 700 yards away, got in position, and took them out at 140. A 77% one-star adult. Still, I guess, one worth taking out, but higher fitness than I would have thought. At this point, we've pretty well reached the northern border of the map, so I'd say that's a good sign. It's time to go back and try to do some calling again. So it's about 6 o'clock. We'll go back, rest to morning, and maybe target some deer species and see if we can call them in. This herd of whitetail is just absurd. We have 2 4-star matures, and this one I think has insane potential, because if we zoom in with the scope here, what you can really clearly tell is he's a lot younger. He's more of a brown color, whereas this guy's a lot grayer in color. Then behind that, we've got a 3-star mature. Now, I don't know, but we may actually be at a point with this herd where taking out a 3-star mature may benefit the overall genetics. It's just that good. And I kind of want to try the trophy buck call, so sometimes I get myself in trouble doing stuff like this and end up killing things I shouldn't, but let's see if he can come in. Now, in theory, every buck in this herd should probably come in, because I think they're all well above 50%. But we do have the 3-star and the big 4-star, or the 4-star that I think has huge potential. So we'll keep on calling, let them come in. And hopefully the other deer start to work their way this way too, because then we can maybe spot some of them and decide if we want that 3-star taken out. But we know just from seeing these 2-star adults and stuff, even the younger ones are already in decent shape. It's pretty wild to see though. We have all the big ones coming in. Got the older 4-star, the younger 4-star, which, I mean, if that guy's not a 5-star pretty soon, I'd be shocked. And this 3-star back here. Now, we're not going to be able to get the 3-star in crossbow range because this guy already is, but I think we're okay to go for it. I can't imagine he gets to 5. I'm not going to lie, that was pretty cool, and more experiences like that when hunting with the crossbow are bound to happen. But I do think all these other deer, the young ones, are well enough off. This might actually be a legitimate management decision to take this guy. Let's just find out. As I said, I get myself into trouble doing stuff like this. We have, on many occasions, including the most recent Transylvania stream, shot stuff we shouldn't have, but it's a way to learn, and I actually do feel better about this one than a lot of stuff we shot before. So, a pretty great 3-star. I don't see any obvious signs of him being uneven, but like I said, all the young deer also have good potential. 2-star adults and stuff like that. Got some mule deer out there too. So maybe we can call one of them in as well, but let's actually see what we shot. We kind of indirectly hit the heart with that 30-06 round, maybe a touch high? Or to the left. Just kind of missed it, but 73%. I genuinely think taking out a 73% buck from this particular herd probably benefits things overall. So that's why we went for it. It's really hard to properly explain, but this is the herd that we killed our 5-star buck from before, have in the past had 2 4-star matures at the same time, and have been consistently watching young deer hit really high star ratings. So that hopefully was actually the right call. And looking at that one younger 4-star in particular, I think we'll find out fairly soon. So my first thought with this herd is to try the lower fitness call, because there's a lot of bucks in here and it's not a herd we've maintained nearly as closely. Now, this was the herd that we shot our most recent 5-star mule deer buck from, so it definitely has some quality genetics, and literally none of these deer are seemingly carrying at all that we're calling. So I guess we'll try the trophy grunt and see if that brings some in, because if it does, then it probably indicates most, if not all, these are above that 50% line. And literally right away, that guy turns and starts coming our way. So that's one we're not going to kill for sure. Kind of like a brown coloration 3-star. Definitely had some time left. I really wanted to see like an adult. Like a 1-star adult that we know is probably in the 60-70% range would be better. And it kind of figures the only deer that we're getting to come in are a couple of 3-star matures, and nothing else here other than that 1-star adult look like ones we'd want to take out. So we might shoot the adult instead. Because we don't have this herd nearly as well managed as the whitetail, I don't feel as confident shooting a 3-star mature, because it's something that still has good genetics to contribute to future herd animals. So let's get this one. And by the way, 1-star adults aren't exactly a guarantee that they're lower genetic potential either, but I do think usually if you see a 1-star adult, it's okay to take. Not always though. And hopefully I don't get burned by that immediately upon claiming this one. We'll see. Managed to hard shot that one, 67%. So either we lucked out or we were correct. You know what? Had we looked closer, he's uneven, which is a dead giveaway that it's one to take out. So good to know. Didn't mess that up. Wish we had been able to look at it a little more and see. But it is interesting he didn't come in to the trophy buck call. Maybe there's something about matures that respond to it more. I do not know. But as we were calling in those other deer, that one was just better to take. And somewhat fittingly, kind of wrapping up with the exact opposite kind of hunting as we were just doing, we've got a bunch of deer here, but with way less potential than our last couple of herds. So we're using the young buck grunt, and this 1-star adult that's very obviously uneven is coming right in. And I think that's going to be the one to take out, but that's one thing for sure. When you've got a herd with less potential and animals that are likely under 50%, that call can kind of tell you for sure if it's one to take out. So when he steps out, because that 2-star adult got pretty close, got a doe standing right there as well, that's going to be him. We do want to make sure he's well clear of the trees or any kind of brush, but I think that'll work. That'll get him down, and again, well within crossbow range. It will be very interesting to see just how good crossbows are, because if a shot angle like that or a frontal shot is doable, then we don't have to worry about the whole getting them broadside thing, because I didn't really feel there was any obvious way to accomplish that, but 30 yards away should be no big deal for any crossbow regardless of how good they are. 48%, just under 50, so obviously that's why he came in, and I think that's going to be our last kill. Lots of promising stuff. We saw that 4-star elk, the 2 4-star mature whitetail. Lots of good stuff to potentially look forward to out here on Nez Perce Valley, plus a little practice and getting those 3rd tier calls unlocked. So that is going to do it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.